really an honor for me. So let me share my screen and then we'll start further. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, it's visible now.
Okay. So as you already know that the topic of today's discussion is fintech. So I understood that most of the audience is from business and computer science students. So maybe I would like to ask first, what is your expectation from this session today? So anyone from students, if they can just share their idea of what they expect from today's session. Can we have someone to share his idea?
Hello, Assalamu alaikum. This is Daniel Idris, and I am a student of MBA Executive Program, and I am a software engineer developer working for Core Technologies. So my expectation from this session is to have a bit of fintech knowledge. I previously have worked with a Bang Al-Fala app named as Al-Fala. So I need to know what's the update of the fintech industry and how it's going.
Good. Thank you. So I hope you will get answer to your queries at the end of the session. So let's move further and see the agenda which we are covering today. So we'll start with the introduction to financial technology, see what financial technology is, why we call it financial technology.
I would request everyone, our audience, to please mute their mics so that our guest speaker can talk clearly.
So we'll start with the introduction to financial technology. Then we'll be moving to see some of the history about financial technology and how it evolved over the period of time. And then we'll touch upon some of the upcoming trends in financial technology. And at the end, we'll see future of financial technology in Pakistan and what currently being worked upon in Pakistan in this particular industry. So at the end, we'll have some question answer session as well. But at the same time, if you guys have any question in between, please feel free to interrupt me. I would like to have interactive session. That's more better. So fintech. So this is basically a combination of two words, finance and technology. As we see in all other industries, like industries are using technology for making their services better more and more every day. Same is the case with the finance industry as well. So finance industry is using the technology to make their services more better, much better with every passing day. And other aspect is to make it possible to share their services across the board through each and every person. Like earlier, it was not possible for areas, low level areas like villages, they were not able to use financial services. But now with the technology or advancement in technology, it is possible that we can use financial services everywhere in the world. So, and this can be anything like simple payment modules or complex blockchain networks. So it's not limited to one particular thing or module. This can be anything. We'll see in further in next slides that at this moment, what work is being done in this particular area. So if you see that the last point, I have deliberately kept it bold in this slide. Banking is necessary, banks are not. So in early 90s, Bill Gates once in a press conference gave this statement, but probably at that point in time, people were not able to comprehend his statement clearly. But down the line, it was very clear that he was referring to branchless banking, digital banking. And now if you see today, the way people bank, the way technology revolutionized the, I would say, banking industry, it's very clear that people anywhere, anytime, want to do bank or banking, but they do not want to visit banks. They want everything to be done from the comfort of their house at any time they want. So this is very clear that what Bill Gates pointed out at that time is now proving that he was right at that point. So if we discuss about fintech companies, then it is basically any company that is making use of technology like internet, mobile devices, or any other software technology to provide or make the financial services better. And this is not necessary that we need to have a separate companies for financial technology. We can regard or label existing banks and financial institutes as fintech companies as well, because nowadays each bank is working on a technology to enhance their customer experience. So we can easily say that the banks which we see today are also acting as a fintech companies as well. And if we see some of the recent examples, so mostly I'll be discussing some examples which are currently available in Pakistan. So mobile banking, peer-to-peer payments like IBFT, and recently the RAST, which is introduced by State Bank. That is a very promising next step, which will be making a huge change in Pakistan industry for payments and all other finance-related services. Then we have automated portfolio managers. You might be receiving messages every other day from different banks for their mutual funds. This is something. This is also possible. This is something which become possible with the help of the technology which we see today. So if we see about the history of financial technology, then if we discuss something today with the people, with a group of people, then mostly people see this as something which is recently evolved, but this is not true. This has a long history, and if we go back in the history, then we see that in 1950s, around 1950, first credit card was introduced. That was a first fintech product, because the reason was that the idea to have a card was to limit or reduce the need of carrying a cash. So this is something not new. This already exists a very long time back as well in history. Then we see online stock trading. I'm not referring to stock trading, which nowadays people use from their mobile or from their computer using internet. That's not the one which I'm referring at this moment. This is something I'm referring to stock industry. So if you go in a little past 5 to 8 years ago, then at that time, the people working in the stock company, they were basically trading using their computers and internet online, and they were collaborating with their customers via phone. But now we are one step or many steps ahead, that we can directly invest in stocks from our mobile or computer using the internet. So this is something which makes it very clear that financial technology is not something new, but it is already there for quite a long time ago as well. But we saw a major breakthrough in financial industry with foundation of PayPal in 1998. That was a time when we see a breakthrough in the financial industry, because with the introduction or foundation of PayPal, the possibility of long-term payments was became available. And through that, you see nowadays what we can do is that using AliExpress, Walmart, Amazon, we can easily order anything around the world if that seller is shipping to Pakistan. No, it's not an issue with the finance that you cannot make a payment. Now it's an issue of the logistics. If that company is operating in Pakistan, if they are delivering their stuff in Pakistan or not. So this is something which was a major breakthrough when PayPal was introduced. PayPal is basically a payment gateway. So that made it possible to make payments across the borders. So, and with that advancement, we see that we were having mobile payment apps, blockchain networks, and other retail businesses which started using PayPal, or many other gateways which became available after PayPal. And if we go again in the history, and we see that when fintech was started earlier, it was not meant to be for the end users. So as a first step, the bank used that to upgrade their back offices systems. They were working on a manual ledgers in history, but they started using the technology to automate their ledgers, to automate their back office system. That was for the help of their employees. That was for the help of their employees only, but in the end, indirectly, it helped the end users as well by reducing the time for many services. Like when you go and something is being done manually, manual entry in the register, that probably takes 10 minutes. But if you do that in a computer, it's just 1 or 2 minutes. So earlier it was only for the backend system for the banks, but with the passage of time, the idea was totally changed, and fintech was became totally customer oriented. So it was that we have to provide our services to the customers so that they can use our services directly without intervention of any employee from the bank side, so that they don't need to visit branch. They can just do that from the ease comfort of their home anytime. Even if you want to do that in the middle of night, you can do that. You can manage your finances without any help from any third party or from branch staff, bank staff. And now if you see currently fintech or the latest banks which we see, they are working in retail banking, they are working in education sector, they are working in investment management, fundraising, and many other. So just consider example that all of us are now probably paying our bills through mobile apps. So we are paying our fees or fee for our kids through online banking. So we do not have to go to the school, go to the university. We don't even need to go to the bank for that. So we just pay via using the technology. So let's see how this current fintech which we see evolved. So as we discussed earlier that in 1950, first credit card was introduced, and the need was to carry less cash at that point. Then in mid 1960s, Barclays installed their first ATM. Although there is some discrepancy in this one, some people say that it is even before that, but mostly agree that it is around 1960s that this first ATM was installed. Then in 1970s, the larger stock exchange company in USA, they introduced electronic trading in 1970s. Then brokerage service was introduced in 1980s, and at the same time, around the same time, we saw that in UK they started using the telebanking as well. Then in early 1990s, one of the banks in USA, they started their first website. And with 1998, with introduction of the PayPal, that totally changed the payment industry or financial industry. And after that, if you see, we have around 2008, Bitcoin started, then Google Pay, Alibaba Smile to Pay, and then Stripe and many other payment systems started around that time after we have PayPal in 1998. Now, if you see that at this point in time, we have many payment gateways available. It's not only limited to PayPal. People are using different gateways internationally. And even in Pakistan, you see there are multiple payment gateways. Multiple banks has developed their own payment gateways. Like HBL was having this option already recently. Mizan Bank introduced that they are launching their own payment gateway. And I think there are some other banks which are also offering these services. And around 2018 or 2016, probably the concept of digital only bank was launched. Digital only bank means that the bank which does not have their physical existence, they are only working with the technology, with mobile apps, with internet apps, uh, over the internet using computer. They do not have any physical existence. So this is called digital only bank. So nowadays we see maybe there are very limited, these are not banks, but these are digital wallets, but all over the world across different countries, we see there are digital banks as well, which are performing all the functions of banks, but they do not exist physically. So if we move to the purpose of fintech, so as I mentioned earlier, like any other industry, they are using technology to enhance their user experience. Same is required for finance industry as well, that they need to use the technology to enhance their user or their customer experience. Also to make it possible that their services are reachable to each and every individual, whether they are sitting in a big cities or small cities or villages. So if I see, then financial industry or fintech was already there for quite a long time ago. But as per my observation, this is something I would say as an unsung hero before COVID-19. When COVID-19 hit, you saw that lots of the banks started providing their services immediately over the internet, even those services which were not available earlier. And the reason was that they know that if they are not able to reach their customers on a quick or short notice, they then they will have to be at the loss. And if you just see, if you Google, you will find that there are a number of leading banks in USA which were collapsed because they were running on legacy systems. They were using obsolete technologies. They were not able to reach their customer in time. So they had to suffer. They had to pay the price for that. And many banks collapsed at that point in time. So I would say that the fintech or objective goal or purpose is that to provide easy services so and reachable services so that every individual can use that. So before we move to upcoming trends in financial technology, if anyone have any question regarding the discussion we have so far, please feel free. Otherwise, we can move further. So let's move then. So some of the upcoming trends which we will be discussing in next section. First one is digital banking. This is already there and it has a long history, but we'll see what will be the future of digital banking in next sections. Then blockchain, cryptocurrency, and smart contracts, we'll see how this is playing an important role. Artificial intelligence and machine learning. This was earlier expensive, but now with every passing day, these technologies are getting cheaper and people are using these. Then Internet of Things. This is also something which has a long history, but we'll discuss how this is now changing. Then augmented reality and virtual reality, and RPA and bots, voice-enabled payments, and open banking and PSD2. This open banking and PSD2, I just deliberately kept this at the end because we'll discuss this in bit detail. This is something going to change the industry. I would say, if not 360 degree, then 180 degree for sure. This is something going to change this financial industry. And we will discuss this in detail that all over the world, people are working on this open banking and PSD2. But to my surprise, I just came to know that some of the banks in Pakistan are also working on this. Probably, I would like to name as well. I came to know that Allied Bank is working on this technology, on this framework or guidelines already. And maybe there are some more as well. So digital banking, as I already mentioned, this is there already. We are on daily basis. We are using mobile applications. We are using internet banking. So digital banking means that all the services which in past bank used to provide on their premise, like you have to visit branch for a particular task, all that can be done via mobile application or via internet application of the mobile. So digital banking is basically to move everything online. So, and reason for this is to make it easier and make it accessible for everyone. If we see that this is growing with each passing day, and every year there is a tremendous growth in digital banking or use of the digital banking. But with different surveys, we came to know that by the end of 2026, it will have an additional compound annual growth of 11.5%. This 11.5% is additional growth on top of the regular growth which we see right now. So this is something which would be additional. And if you see that, if you just see people around us, so I don't think anyone from us or people around us are using conventional banking at this moment. So if anything which we can do via mobile application or internet banking, we just avoid go bank for that particular task. We use that digital banking and you take advantage of that. And if we see the advantages of digital banking, so from bank perspective, it's that they are reducing their cost. How they are reducing their cost? There are multiple ways. Like if people are not visiting branches, then means they are not using paper. They are going paperless. This is one factor through which they are reducing cost. Then they basically what they can do is that they can reduce their branches. That in another way through which they can reduce cost. Then another benefit is that they can use their core teams to concentrate on their core business products so that they can enhance their products or enhance user experience around that. Then again, another benefit is fewer errors, because when manual work is removed, everything is automated, then there is very less chance of having any error. And here I would like to quote an example that earlier uh, people were going through bank to transfer money. So during one of our visits, official visit, our company was supposed to transfer our travel allowance, and there was a mistake by the from the bank side, and they, while manually entering the amount, instead of 150K, they transferred 1.5 million. So these are the errors which they can reduce when people are not visiting branches. Everything is done automatically by online banking. Then smaller footprint to bank. So of course, when everything is digitalized, there is no need to visit banks. So they'll have a less crowd in the bank. That means they can reduce their branches and they can ask their staff to concentrate on core business products to enhance customer experience. At the same time, it's not only limited to the benefit to the banks only. The end users are benefited as well. So if we see here, first of all, lower charges. So if I go to bank, ask them to make a bank draft for me, that will cost some fee. But at the same time, if I just use mobile banking to make transfer, money transfer, that is totally free using RAS. Then easy, it means 24/7 accessible. I can do that anytime. I do not have to take a leave from my office to go to the bank for a particular reason or particular objective. So greater financial inclusion, that means the services are reachable to more people now. Full services access, you do not have to go to the credit card department for one service and for the debit card department for any other service. You can just manage everything from your mobile. Focus on security, again, it's something which you are doing directly from yourself. You are not involving any bank employee. So if you have to transfer 150K, you will make sure that you will transfer 150K. You will recheck many times. You are not relying on bank staff for that. So next. So next trend is blockchain, cryptocurrency, smart contracts. So probably most of you people might be aware of these technologies already, because we are hearing a lot about blockchain during current time. So blockchain is basically decentralized ledgers. So it is something that like in current or conventional banking, we see that data is available at central location, but with blockchain, it is decentralized and there is no third party or government entity involved there. So that makes it very easier to manage, because if myself and some of you, we are agreeing on making a transaction, then it means we are dealing directly. We are not involving any third party. In that case, it will be decentralized, available on each and every node, like from my computer to your computer and from anyone else, it would be available. The copy of that ledger would be available with everyone. So, and when one transaction is conducted, then everyone involved in whole chain will be vetting that transaction based on some predefined, pre-agreed, complex crypto algorithm. So that means it is secure as well. And if we see the trend, then this is already very quickly growing, and something which we see that is going to happen, and it will remain like this by the end of 2023 as well. And after that, we'll see where else it is going. Only issue currently the underdeveloped or developing countries looking into this is they want to regularize this because they feel the fear of money laundering or hiding the money through this, because there is no central party or governing entity involved in this case. But we hope that it will be settled soon, because all over the world people are working with the cryptocurrencies, so that is going to happen very soon. Then there are smart contracts. Smart contracts are nothing more than I would say uh, agreements. It's like nowadays different banks in Middle East and Europe, they are working on digital collaterals. So if you know, then collaterals are basically the security which we are sharing with our banks against a particular loan. So like in current world, if I want to take a loan from a bank for my car loan, for my house loan, so sometimes I have to mortgage my land to bank to get a house loan. So digital collateral is something in which we can mortgage our digital assets like NFTs, like our copyrights, which are digitally secured. So how smart contracts play a role there? So if I pledge or mortgage my digital asset to the bank, then we have a contract that by 12 months, I'll clear the loan and the lock on my digital asset will be released. But in case I'm not able to pay that, then my digital asset will be liquidify at that time. So this is something where we call a smart contract. And let's see some of the advantages of blockchains. It is traceable because, as I said, there is no third party, a governing body involved in between. So it's from peer to peer. If I make a transaction from myself to someone else, then all the people involved in that whole network, they will be vetting that transaction. So it is easily traceable. It is transparent because it is decentrally stored on each node. It is auditable because again, it is something which we are writing in a ledger, and that ledger is only read only and write only, cannot be modified. So if we have done a transaction, if we have to modify that, then we have to make another transaction. So we can easily say that it is auditable. Means you can see the history for that particular transaction. It is secure, as I mentioned, that quite complex crypto algorithms are used, and everyone involved in the network is vetting that through those algorithms. Then collaboration, we are collaborating. In collaboration, we are doing transactions. We are not involving any third party. Then efficient as well, because again, there is no third party involvement. It's going directly to someone whom I want to make a payment. So these are some of the advantages of blockchain. So artificial intelligence and machine learning. As I mentioned earlier, that this is making a huge change in the financial industry. Why? Because artificial intelligence and machine learning, these concepts are not new, but for financial industry, this is something new. So anyone asking something from me?
No, I guess you can continue. You can continue.
Yeah. So artificial intelligence and machine learning, this is something already existing, but for finance industry, this is something new in a way that earlier these technologies were not cheap. But now with every passing day, their operational cost is reducing, and financial industry is making a huge use of these technologies because these are not affordable. So let's see some of the benefits or use cases of these technologies. So financial monitoring. So through machine learning, we can monitor our network or the data incoming, and we can identify the trends, what is going on in the financial industry or in a particular bank, or the behavior of or the pattern of usage of a particular customer. Then investment predictions. If you know, in conventional investment banking, we have investment managers. They are basically analyzing the whole data and based on that, they are predicting whether we should invest in this particular stock or not, whether we should invest in this particular market or not. But nowadays, banks are using machine learning, and based on the history data, they are determining or predicting it is a good investment or not. Then process automation, again, it's linked to RPA as well. Through the use of machine learning, we can automate our existing processes. Then secure transaction. This is very important because this is used in day-to-day banking. Through machine learning, banks are using a different mechanism to detect frauds. So it is very easy now. Like if someone is trying to access my account and making a let's say by any chance, if some hacker got access to my account and he make a transaction, and if you see, then hackers' approach is that if they got access to a particular account, they first make a small transaction to see if everything is working fine, and then they make another transaction. So through machine learning, what banks try to achieve is that they see if the transaction, the account to and from accounts which are involved in that particular transaction, are they well known? If from this account to the sender account, if we have transactions in the past as well, if the amount is huge, based on these flag and machine learning algorithms engines, they track that if there is any suspicious activity, if there is any suspicious activity, they just block that transaction. So this is something which banks are using or taking care of these days. Then risk management. Earlier, when bank used to lend money or give a loan to any particular party, they were basically looking at the data of that particular customer manually, but they are now using machine learning to assess the past track of that particular customer, to assess the risk, whether he will be able to pay back or not. Then algorithmic training. Again, it is same that based on some prediction, we can train our machine learning engines that if this is the situation, just make a trade for our particular client. Financial advisory, it is also linked with that. Next, this customer data management, customer service level improvement, and customer retention program. These are linked. How these are linked, maybe you guys have seen some examples in your circle that because we are often discussing in the office that if we are sitting in a closed circle, then we see that on and off some of our colleagues are receiving calls from banks for loans, for credit cards, and we often get surprised that why they are calling to a particular person and why not to everyone. So now, after research, we came to know that bank is using our data to predict this. So they see that if some particular person is earning 200K a month and he is spending all his money and he is not saving anything on that. And at the same time, he is very good with his credit history by paying his credit card bills or any of his loan installments. Then they see that particular person vulnerable to who can be easily trapped. So they offer him, like we are offering you this incentive. We offer you a loan with very less markup or without markup, but one-time processing fee. So this is something where bank is using our data, your data, and making predictions and offering us different services. So these are different use cases of machine learning and artificial intelligence in the financial industry. So Internet of Things. So maybe since some of you are already from CS department, so you might be aware that Internet of Things is something where through devices we are controlling or providing features to our customers. It's not only in finance industry, it's other than that as well. Like in health department, if you see, then heart pacer, now doctors on can check patient condition or heartbeat from remote locations as well. It's not necessary for them to be in hospital. They can see that over the internet as well. Then vending machines. This is another example of Internet of Things. But in finance industry, if we see that, then ATMs are one of the examples or one of the oldest examples. because with ATM, we are providing user and access to their money. They can withdraw their money. But this is something which is now changing the finance industry at this point in time, as we see that all across the world, financial institutes, fintechs are working on wireless payments and transactions. So now you can make payments with your mobile devices. It is also possible to make payments with the help of your smartwatches as well. It's not limited to mobile devices. You can just pay or make transaction with the help of your wearable or smartwatch. These are some of the examples. So again, everything which you can do via your mobile or your smartwatch or any other device that comes under the umbrella of Internet of Things for banking. So you can just pay your loans, your installments, anything with the help of your mobile or smartwatch. Augmented reality and virtual reality. This is something very interesting. So if you see that, it's basically augmented or virtual reality is basically providing some additional, I would say, impacts in 3D view. So if you see in banking or finance industry, virtual stock trading is potential use case. And as I mentioned earlier, that some of the banks are working on digital collateral. So they are also using of augmented and virtual reality. Then already Citibank is using Microsoft HoloLens to give some AR and VR experience to their users. And MasterCard also has partnered with Virality so that their users can make payments in a virtual world without leaving a virtual world. So this is something very interesting. But these are not the limited use cases of AR or VR. The major use cases are virtual meetings and data visualization. So if you see that I have to analyze a particular data and I draw a graph on my screen or on paper. And instead of that, if I see 3D image of that in a virtual reality, in a virtual reality phase, that would be more interesting. And I would be able to analyze that in a better way. So these are basically the most common use of AR and VR in financial industry. Then RPA. This is something I think everyone is using on and off, probably not only with financial industry, but if you see that on different websites, you see chatbots. These are also part of RPA. So banks are also using RPAs. So the idea is the benefit of RPA is that any repeatable task which can be easily automated, just shift those to the RPA using bots. So there can be multiple options like KYC and opening a new account. Wherever we see that we have to follow a certain steps, we can just make use of RPA to achieve those purposes. Like if you see, first one is automatic report generation. So if we have to generate a report, it's just a manual work that has to be done in a same way on a daily basis or a weekly basis. So we can just program a robot and that robot can do that task for us. Similarly, for customer onboarding, it's again 5 or 6 steps which we have to perform that a robot can easily do. Then KYC, again, we have to fill a form that we can hand over to a bot. Account opening, mortgage lending, loan processing, all these use cases or all these features or functions which we are currently doing in a manual way, we can easily pass those on to RPA. Any questions so far? Okay. So let's move. So why enable payments? So now again, if we see the history of, I will relate this to WhatsApp. If we see the history of WhatsApp, first when WhatsApp was introduced, then people were happy that now we can get in touch with our family and friends across the country, across the world using WhatsApp over the internet with low cost via chat. But later they introduced voice call, then video call, then they introduced voice messages as well. So now you see that people are so lazy, I would say, that they even don't want to type. So they are exchanging voice messages. Same is the case. People want ease in each and every industry, whether it's financial industry, health industry, or anything else. They want ease of use. So now in different countries, companies are working on voice-enabled payments so that you can make payments through voice recognition system through your mobile or via your devices as well, like your smartwatches. Although right now they are facing some issues with respect to the different accent and security as well, but I'm pretty sure it should be over very soon. So next one is open banking and PSD2. So this concept is basically, I think it was started around 2018, open banking and PSD2. PSD is basically Payment Service Directive. So in UK, people call it open banking, and in Europe, it is called as Payment Service Directive. And more or less, they both are same. At this point, if you see that our data with bank is secure, they are not sharing our data with anyone else. They are only sharing data among different banks because those banks are licensed by the central bank. In our case, it's State Bank. But at the same time, whenever there is a whenever a new fintech company came into existence, they feel a challenge because they are not having access to customers' data or credit history. So, and secondly, the transactions which are going away from one bank to another bank, they are also having challenges because they have to go through a central bank. So if the data from one bank is available to other banks or third parties, agencies via API interfaces, then it means that financial industry can grow exponentially. The reason is that if there is a third party company in the market who is providing payment services or loan services, then they can easily access data for their customers from banks via use of the API, and they can see their credit history, and based on that they can take a decision whether we have to allow or we have to sanction loan for this person or not. So this is something which people in UK and Europe agreed that we should work in this way, and their central banks are also onboarded. Even the Central Bank of Europe is also onboarded on this particular approach. And as I mentioned earlier, it's not only that UK and Europe is working on this. Even in Pakistan, different banks are working on this approach as well. So once the data is available, is accessible to third parties, then it will make the financial industry life much easier. Let's see how that would be. So at this moment, if you see the data is available here, then there are some regulatory, I would say, requirements which they have to fulfill as well to share data through different banks as well. But now what we are talking is that all these banks, they share their data via the APIs to other fintech companies as well. So that if there is any new company in the market, which is not a proper bank, but a fintech company, and they are offering a different products, like we take an example of KistPay in Pakistan, which is offering different products on installment. So at this moment, I can see their challenge. It is difficult for them to identify whether the person they are offering a product on installment, will he or she be able to return their amount back or not. But if this all idea is realized, that means they can easily access their bank history and see if that person is worth it to spend money on them or not. So this is something which is going to change the financial industry, and let's see the benefits. As we mentioned, that better payment solution right now, every payment which we are making from one bank, even through RAS, this is going via central bank. If the information is directly available to the third parties or different banks, then it might be possible we are making payments directly from one bank to another bank without involvement of the third parties. That make the solution very quicker, faster, and easier. And in that case, when there are less parties involved, there are less chances of fraud as well. Then again, better borrowing term, as I already mentioned, that if my or your credit history is available to the third party agencies, then it would be easy for them to identify my credit history. Am I eligible for a particular loan for a particular product or not? So this is something again, another advantage of open banking. Then better financial management. Then if data is available, then for sure there will be coming some, I would say, companies which will be providing easy access to our accounts through which we can see what is going on in, and based on that we can make our decisions quicker. Then account aggregation. At this moment, if you see, if you have account with 3 banks, you have to log into 3 different applications to see what is going on, what is coming in, going out. This is something. But with inclusion of this open banking, if data is available to each and everyone, then maybe there are some companies which are going to provide a wrapper on top of the different banks through which we can aggregate our accounts and see the dashboard where we see our total standing. Like this is my asset, this is my liability or something. So these are benefits, I would say, of open banking. And why I say that this is going to change the financial industry, because this is going to strengthen the digital banking, which is basically something which each and every individual is using. That is not a limited group of people who are using digital banking. So now let's move to the fintech ecosystem in Pakistan. So if I see, as per my analysis, research, working with the international banks and my colleagues working in the local banks, I see that Pakistan financial industry is evolving on a huge, or I would say rapid speed. They are growing very fast. Especially if we see that after 2020, when this particular COVID hit, after that, if you see, there was a huge change in the banking applications. They were offering different ways to collaborate, to basically interact with their customer. So I do not see any reason that we are not going to move on in Pakistan financial industry. In fact, as compared to other industries, this is going to flourish more, as per my opinion. Then recently, State Bank also introduced a RAS that is also going to change this industry, because if you see that with the help of RAS, we can not only deal with the banks, we can make investment in the mutual funds, we can pay our monthly installments, we can pay our taxes, and all this without any additional cost. So this is something which is going to be a huge step from government side to promote this financial industry. And lastly, I would say that in Pakistan, still there is a huge potential in financial industry. And it's not only that local investors are keeping an eye on industry, but investors from all over the world, they are keeping an eye on the financial industry of the Pakistan, because they see a huge potential here. We are lagging behind as compared to the European industry. So that's why they see a huge potential. And if you see that, we already have a new fintech companies like NeaPay, SadaPay in Pakistan. But on top of that, recently, DBank, they also secured a huge funding, and they are also working very good in the industry. So this is something which is going more. So last one, it's basically, if any one of you going to work in the financial industry, whether in the technology sector or in the finance sector, then this is something with my experience I came across. I basically, it's just, I would say, something which is I learned during my industry experience in finance industry, or mainly in the banking industry for over 20 years, that it's not that we are owning our customers. Nowadays, customers are quite sensible. They are just looking for easy solutions and cheaper solutions. So if you are not up to the market, if you are not up to the par, then it's very likely that you are going to lose your customers. So this is something which we have to keep in our mind by working in the financial or technology industry. Next is that nowadays we see that there are a number of products each and every financial institute is providing. So this is something where I would say that we cannot compete with our competitors in all grounds. So what we can do is that we should pick one or two products where we should master, and for others we should collaborate or cooperate with our competitors. This is something through which we can flourish in the industry. Otherwise, if we try to compete in each product, then I think it won't be a sensible decision. Last point is that it's not possible that based on our own expertise, our own legacy system, we build a system for our end user. That's not going to work. What we have to see is that the customer need. And for that, if we have to upgrade ourselves technology wise, if we have to upgrade our system, we have to do that. It's not like based on our expertise or system, we bring something in the market, and it's not like that. We see the customer need and we should work based on that. And last very important point, which I would say that technology or technical stuff is now providing in a market is time to market. So if you see that every industry, not only finance industry, is taking use of technology just for the reason that they can reduce their time to market. So nowadays, there are a number of competitors in the market. So we are not reducing our time to market, then we are surely going to fail. So for that reason, we must see that the technology which we are using, is it the right one for us? Is it going to work for us? Is it going to reduce our time to go in a market? So these are few things which I have learned over the period of time. So I wanted to share with you as well. So I think I'm done. So if any question from anyone, please feel free. Otherwise, I have some question for you guys, probably the CS guys.
All right. I think before I give the audience the platform to like ask any questions, sir. First of all, I would say thank you for taking your time out and giving your insights about the topic, because this topic is for sure is in trend, and students from computer science also and from the finance department should actually know about it to so that the students have the awareness about it. So right, so before I give the platform to the audience, let me ask a question that you talked about that the banks have adopted, like I believe you talked about Allied Bank, right, adopted this technology. So what's the success rate? So for instance, if you want to implement any technology in Pakistan, you need to spread awareness about it, right? And you need to because most of our audience जो हमारा जो तबका है जो अटेंड कर इस चीज को यूज करता है, that is are they aware of it, like how much percentage is more aware of this, and how most of, I mean, किसको पता है किसको नहीं पता वाली बात है, ठीक है, that's what I'm asking about, ठीक है. And then what's the success rate, because you talk about national banks, you talk about other banks, have they introduced the technologies as well? You talked about the Sada Pay, and then we have, I think we have the Pay Park के नाम से भी, I think we have the technology as well. So it was introduced in competition to, I believe, PayPal, right? So but most of the audience still uses PayPal. So it's more about how aware are we, okay? And in your experience, how do you see that?
Okay, yeah, very good question. So since you asked this, otherwise I was expecting this question from students as well, because especially when we discuss the payment gateway. So I was about to ask someone whether they know about the payment gateways or not. So there are multiple questions what you asked. So first of all, you mentioned that I said that Allied Bank is working on that. So they are working on open banking and PSD2. This is something which is new in the market. So I would say that end user is not aware of that. But technology experts, they are aware of that. The finance heads, the business heads, they are aware of that. So banks in UK, Europe, and in Pakistan, maybe in other countries, they have also started working on that. At this point in time, they are having some challenges with open banking and PSD2. And those challenges are mainly regarding the security and then standardization of the APIs. Because let's say if I have to access data from 5 banks, I'm not going to use 5 different APIs of 5 different banks. Yes, there can be 5 different APIs, but I expect that their request and response should be similar. Otherwise, it would be a nightmare for me to use that. So this is something about open banking and PSD2, where I mentioned that Allied Bank is working on that. So this is not currently known to end users, but this is the finance heads or the management in the banks or in the technology sectors, SadaPay, NeaPay, these people are aware of this. They are already aware of this and they are working on that, because this is something in, I would say, in a POC phase. I can tell you that in recently till last year, we were working for one of the products in Europe, and they have integrated that particular PSD2 services in their portal as well. They have launched that for their pilot customers again, that is to their pilot customers. They are providing those free of cost to some of the customers to see how it goes, how is the experience. They will then record their responses, that whether they are satisfied with that or not. This is first thing. Then you mentioned about the PayPark. Yes, that is another payment gateway like PayPal. But as I mentioned, we have some other as well that SPL is providing. Mizan recently launched that 2 weeks ago. They announced on social media that they are going with their own payment gateway. So with that, these payment gateway, again, I would say that technical experts, finance head, they are aware of that because they have to make use of those services. So they have to make use, then they need to differentiate between them, which one is cheaper, which one is secure. So those people are aware of that, but the end user is not aware, because end user is even not aware that I am going on a shopping mall, I'm swiping my card there. What is happening in the background? No one is aware of that. But that's true that technical experts and finance head, business head, they are aware of that because they are working in this market.
Thank you so much for this detailed response. I'd like to give the platform to our audience. If somebody has any question, please feel free to ask.
Hello, Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
My name is Shayan. I am in my 3rd semester studying computer science here at IBA. So I wanted to ask that if, for example, I'm a student and I'm an aspiring developer, so what should I learn, or how should I take my steps if I want to make a career as a developer in fintech specifically?
Yeah. So as I mentioned many times, that fintech or finance industry is not different than other industries. So it's just like a normal tools, technologies which we are using. Normal tools and technologies which we are using. Only thing which you see different is for finance industry, that security is more important for finance industry, because it is something that if there is any loophole in the application of or software which we are producing, then that might mean that all the users of that particular application or software are at the risk of losing their money. So you know that after health, nowadays we regard our assets, our money more. So in that case, I would suggest you to just carry on with your career as it is, like you're doing. Just learn few languages, few frameworks, and after that, because in our company there are different projects which are going, and same university graduates are working. Some are working in financial technology, some are working in the health industry, someone working in the education industry. It's only that their compliance are different. Like we have to comply with GDPR compliance in finance industry. So GDPR is global data protection something. So it's basically that you do not have to share our customer data with someone. Same is the case if someone is working, some developer is working on health industry, they're HIPAA compliant. They need to be HIPAA compliant. So this is something which you, when you will come industry, then you will come to know about these standards. And this is our responsibility that we teach you when we are moving you on different projects. So it's like when you come in the industry, if you are working for a service-based company like 10 Pearls, it's not that you will always be working on a financial technology project. So maybe we have a financial technology project and that lasts for 2 years. After that, you will be working on another project. So that means you will be working on different tools and technologies. So in that case, there is no specific tool or technology that you have to learn. Yes, but if you talk about the blockchain, but again, blockchain is not specific to finance industry. You can use blockchain in any other industry as well. Yes, for blockchain, there are some specific, they have a specific language solidity. They work on specific databases like big chain database or Cassandra. But again, that is something which you can always learn after completing your graduation. This is something on top of that. And these technologies, these languages are not much different than the routine languages which we are working on. So as a student, you just need to carry on your career as you are doing. But at the end, when you are working on the financial technology, it's only that there are some certain compliance rules which you have to follow, and that varies based on project to project. And that you will be trained when you have started your job or working in industry.
Thank you so much for the detailed response, and thank you for this session. It was very valuable.
Welcome.
If anybody else from the audience would like to ask any questions from our guest speaker.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
Mohammed Shah here from MS Islamic Banking and Finance. Sir, can we show government securities using a platform of smart contracts like Sukuk and T-bills?
Yeah, this is very interesting. Actually, why I am saying that this is interesting, this is something that I used to listen in the morning when coming to office or dropping my kids to school, a radio program on 107. Maybe you guys also listening to that. Adil Azhar, he is doing that program. So today, someone asked him question why these government securities or government bonds, why these are not going with the technology, why we still have to go to their centers and with a pathetic service. So your question is very valid, and yes, this is possible. This is possible. Even you mentioned about the smart contracts. I would say even if we just move them to digital technology, that would be a great achievement. Smart contracts are next level. Even if we move them to the digital technology, that would be a very good initiative. But that is possible. We can move to the smart contracts for those government securities like scoop bonds you mentioned. But the issue is that the reason he explained in the morning in that call, the staff there is around sitting there for like last 20-25 years. They are not, they don't want to change. So we need to bring a change in the staff first to make these changes. But you raised a very valid point. And yes, this has to be done. This has to be done. And this can be done via smart contracts, as you mentioned.
Thank you, sir, for your answer. Further, may I have some explanation? How can we issue government security using a smart contract? Brief explanation, please.
Government securities as smart contracts.
Yes.
Yeah. So, like, see, let's say we take an example of defense saving certificates. This is also an example of the government security. That's fine. Are you aware of that defense saving certificate or saving certificates?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So we are aware of that. So what happens that at this moment, if I explain you the procedure, what we have to do is that we have to go to their national center, national saving center. First day you will go there, then you will provide your NIC and all other documents you mentioned them. I have to apply for this bond, for this certificate. they will take a check from you and ask you to come after 3 days. Then you go, they will issue you a certificate. In fact, they will issue you a receipt and tell them that come after 1 week and you will get a certificate. You get that certificate, you keep that. Let's say the maturity of that certificate is for 3 years or maybe for 10 years. And now, as per the rule, every month you go there, you visit to the branch and you show your certificate or receipt, and you take the interest or percentage, whatever it is, you take that and come home. Now, if we want to automate that via smart contracts, what we can do is that when person visit first time on the bank, or even we can make this available via the mobile application or internet banking. I just provide my information. I just transfer money from my bank account, and in return, I get a certificate, and in a database, we create a contract, and the condition of those contracts are that just pay this person or deposit this amount based on this percentage every month. That is my profit. Yes. And there would be another contract, smart contract and agreement that after the completion of 3 years, just dissolve this certificate, liquidify this certificate, and deposit this amount based on this percentage to this particular account. So we can easily automate this in a smart contract if we want to do that. So this would be the whole procedure. So it's just like automating existing system, like, let's say if you have used mobile application to make an investment in the mutual fund, it's just very easy. I can open my mobile account, mobile application. I just make a payment from my bank account to my investment account, and all done. And if I want to withdraw back, I do that other way around. So same is the case with the smart contracts. We can easily do that for government securities.
All right, we are just 3 minutes away for the closing of this session. So if anybody else from the audience would like to add any question. All right, I think I'm sure this should be it. If anybody from the audience would like to add any question, if not, we should proceed for the conclusion of this session. Okay, so thank you so much, Kashif, for taking your time out and sharing your insights on this very interesting topic. And I'm sure the audience that attended this session had a very basically enjoyed this session and learned a lot. Right. So just to conclude, for those who missed this session is recorded and will be posted on our social media platforms so that you can be able to view this whole session again. Right. So if you want to add any conclusion remarks, sir, then we'll go for the conclusion.
I think I'm done. And thank you very much for having me for this session. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for joining, and thank you Kashif for taking your time out and sharing your insight on this topic. Thank you all. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.